Like and subscribe to have amazing luck for the next week. If Steven Spielberg has taught us anything, it's that sharks are violent beasts that should be feared and respected. While not all sharks are as terrifying as the media makes them out to be, they still should be observed and admired from afar. Today we will be looking at 15 of the scariest shark moments recorded on camera by humans. So let's jump right in, shall we? Number 15. Shark versus fisherman. When people hear about sharks, usually the first species that comes to mind is the great white shark. While great white sharks are infamous for being dangerous, don't let this overshadow the shark species in the number 2 spot, the tiger shark. These sharks aren't as talked about as the great whites, however, they are known to be aggressive and are second only to great white sharks in terms of the number of shark attacks on humans. So, to put it simply, do not underestimate them. The shark moment I am about to show you takes place in Hawaii in the middle of the afternoon on Friday, May 12, 2023. This was just off the coast of Hawaii, where this fisherman, Scott Haraguchi, was out fishing when he heard strange swooshing sounds beneath his boat. At the time, he was filming on his GoPro with the idea of capturing his catches on film, but instead, he caught this crazy shark interaction. This clip is short, but quite chilling to watch as we see this tiger shark come within inches of the unprepared fisherman as it attempts to chomp into the side of his boat. Haraguchi got so lucky that is all that happened, and he was barely out of harm's way. Regardless, it was an extremely close call. Number 14. Shark versus swimmer. It's always good to remember that anytime we humans enter the ocean, we drop several levels on the food chain. And this next footage is an insanely close call, and both of the people involved are lucky to be alive. Here in this footage, we have a couple out swimming about 4 miles off the Key West when suddenly the husband, who is filming this from a boat, noticed a shark not far from his wife. Here we see him call to her, and she immediately responds and doesn't question anything. Mad respect that this guy was able to record and not panic in the moment. Freaking out could have cost her and, well, possibly both of their lives. I, for one, can't believe he was able to spot the shark. Number 13. Orca versus Paddleboarder. While this next one is not necessarily a shark, the killer whale is a whale that you cannot ignore. When you paddleboard deep enough into the ocean, it really is possible to see anything. That anything for paddleboarder Lucas Riley was an orca. In this clip, we see Riley on his board when suddenly an orca comes into the picture and interacts with him, and with 2 pushes of its tail, the animal has come and gone. Such a powerful creature. Despite the name and reputation as violent predators, they are usually not a threat to people. There are only a handful of recorded times they have acted out and harmed humans. Number 12. Shark versus solitary surfer. Up next, we have a crazy moment shared between a great white shark and a lone surfer. It was right after a winter rainstorm in Southern California at San Onofre State Park on Camp Pendleton. The surfer, David Woodward, wanted to take out his longboard while the surf was relatively small and maybe get some good footage on his GoPro. Since it was right after a storm, the beach was deserted and he was the only one out there in the water or even at the beach. Everything seemed relatively peaceful when suddenly, as he was observing an incoming wave, he noticed a great white shark about 10 feet away swimming from side to side. Woodward was used to seeing sharks in the area, and they generally left him alone, so he wasn't too concerned. However, when this one turned abruptly towards him, then his mood shifted and he spun his board and hightailed it out of there. Number 11. Shark versus cliff diver. Up next, we have a clip that had a bunch of people talking. In this clip, we see diver Terry Tufferson strapping on a GoPro and then going around the fence to access the popular cliff jumping spot known as Sydney Harbor. People love watching heart-pounding and blood-pumping clips, but the point of view of a cliff diver is not what caught the attention of millions. It appears to be like any other cliff diving experience, but when he jumps into the water, that's when things get unsettling. As he's pushed underwater, he immediately spots something completely unexpected, a shark. When he resurfaces, we see him look up at his friend, who is also pointing at the animal. He peeks his head back under for a look at the shark's positioning, only to see the animal heading toward him. He kicks around, trying to make a fuss, and his efforts buy him a little time, and he is able to escape to land. There has been much debate over the authenticity of this clip. Is it really possible a shark was there, or is this just an edit? Number 10, shark versus caged diver. I never really understood the excitement behind this, but some people find being face to face with danger, in this case a shark, to be a thrilling experience. If you live anywhere near the ocean, you can probably find a place that has shark cage diving. Some aquariums may offer this experience in a controlled environment as well. But anyway, the idea behind this is that divers are put inside a secured metal cage in the middle of the ocean, usually in areas known to be hunting grounds for sharks, so people can observe, photograph, and just generally experience sharks up close in their natural environment. For sharks out in the wild, this is a strange idea, as you are presenting to them food on a platter. But they can't quite reach and access said food, which leads to them biting and attacking the cage in frustration. In this particular case, the shark in question was a huge 18-foot-long great white shark. Watching this footage is so nerve-wracking. Usually, the cages these services advertise look a lot more secure, but this cage looks like an accident waiting to happen. I personally would never enter a cage into a shark's natural habitat where they hunt. And I'm always shocked that people willingly do this and then act surprised when the animal actually hunts in its territory. Would you ever do shark cage diving? Number 9, shark versus scuba divers. If a shark started circling your buddy while scuba diving, what would you do? You've probably watched movies where you see a shark or group of sharks begin circling a boat or person in the water, and you likely immediately jump to the worst-case scenario, that the shark is going to attack. If you see a shark's fin cutting circles through the water, are you in danger, or is this prejudice? Well, according to experts, this is prejudice. Sharks do not circle the water before they attack, as much as the media and films show otherwise. In actuality, this is their way of attempting to form an image of what they are approaching in the water. Circling an object allows them to observe something without breaking eye contact. We as humans have two eyes in front of us and can turn our heads to gain an understanding of our environment. But many marine animals, such as sharks, have to turn their whole bodies to draw a map of their surroundings. This is done through the process of circling. Now, after checking out said object, this can very well turn into them realizing this is prey they wish to feed on and then proceed to attack. In this clip, we watch as a shark starts circling one of the divers. When another diver notices the shark circling his buddy, he decides to interfere in case his fellow diver was in danger of being attacked. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. What do you think about this footage? Was the diver being circled ever in harm's way, or was the shark just checking him out? Number 8, shark versus lucky freediver. In murky water, sometimes you don't know what has hit you until it's at a point of being too late. In such scenarios, it can be hard to see any threats until said threat is inches away. In this video, this freediver was out in open water and didn't even know a shark was in close proximity to him until after contact was already made. Fortunately, the shark just grazed the back of his head in a drive-by and didn't bite his head off. The diver didn't know what had happened until he saw the great white shark swimming away. I'm sure he's grateful a tap on the head was all he got from the large animal, rather than anything else that could have ended much worse. Given this extremely lucky situation, maybe he should go buy a lottery ticket. Number 7, shark versus student. Up next, we have an environmental management student who was diving in Crystal Bay off Nusa Penida in Bali in September of 2019. What makes this next moment a particularly strange phenomenon is that before this, great white sharks had never before been seen in Indonesian water, as they are a cold water species. So when this student was out scuba diving and observed a shark swimming in the area, it was such a crazy moment that got people thinking. So what does this mean for the shark and the environment? Well, as we see oceans warm up, it appears that fundamental ocean currents are being altered, so maybe this video is only the start of a theory where more misplaced creatures could be entering strange territories. It could be that, or that this just could have been an odd occurrence. I'm curious what you guys think about this. Number 6. Circling shark versus kayakers. These two kayakers were out approximately 3 kilometers from Maioli to do some fishing when they spotted a 5-meter great white shark that started circling one of them. To appear as a bigger target, the two kayakers positioned them in a way to ideally intimidate the shark into leaving them alone. After a bit of circling, the shark kept swooping in for some test bites in an attempt to get some answers to his curiosity. Thankfully, fisherman Carl Berger and his friend made it out safely, but it definitely was a humbling experience. I, for one, will never understand why people take kayaks fishing in the ocean, let alone bodies of water like the South African Ocean, but to each their own. Would you take a kayak through shark-infested waters? Number 5. Shark versus spear fisherman. This next video takes place back in August of 2015 at the favorite fishing spot of these fishermen located in Arniston, Cape Town, Africa. The main reason they chose Arniston was that they were seeking some good-eating reef fish options. They put a lot of effort into this trip. They watched the weather, the conditions, and well, on this Thursday, everything was as close to perfect as it was going to get. The only thing that was less than ideal was the fact that the water looked like it was quite milky and not great viability for diving. This started in the early morning. There was a bit of cloud cover, so it was hard to decide what the viability was actually like. Despite their uncertainty about the water, they persevere, which I'm not sure was worth the stress of this close call. While making their way through this unclear water, these spear fishermen have a near miss with a great white who decided to not make them dinner. Between the murky water and the hardly visible shark, this is pure nightmare fuel. Number 4. Shark versus scientist. Up next, we have a close call that will have you thinking about double and triple checking every unknown water you dive into. Here we have a scientist who was able to enter the ocean here in her diving gear. Right before she fully inserts herself into the water, she peeks her head under the water's surface and sees something that sends shivers down her spine. She was a moment away from jumping right into a shark's mouth and becoming its next meal. She quickly scampers up the ladder backwards to remove herself from the situation. Thank goodness she took the proper precautions, otherwise she may not still be here today. If this has taught me anything, always check every body of water for sharks before stepping foot inside. Number 3. Photobombing shark versus surfer. I always thought sharks didn't make it all that far into the more shallow ends of the ocean. However, there are quite a few shark encounters with surfers that prove otherwise. This interaction, however, is probably unlike any you have ever seen. In fact, if this person had not been filming, I'm not sure I would believe this happened. This clip isn't very long, and if you blink, you might miss it. In the video, the surfer, Kelly Slater, can be seen riding this wave when suddenly, to his right, a shark can be seen inside the wave. Crazy, right? The timing of this just seems so perfect. It's like the shark knew it was his time to shine. Number 2. Sharks versus 24-hour challenge. Would you spend 24 hours in shark-infested waters? I guess Australians are built different, because that's exactly what this guy did. Most people aren't brave enough to spend the night out in the wild, let alone in the dangerous Australian waters. As we mentioned earlier, tiger sharks are not to be underestimated, as they are the second most deadly species to humans. I have never seen someone willingly get so close to sharks in an uncontrolled environment. There's no cage to keep him safe here. We just see him and the wild tiger sharks that call this area their home. Despite their dangerous reputation, tiger sharks for the most part keep to themselves. There is one point when a shark decides to take a bite out of his paddleboard. Do you think this was an attack? Or maybe the shark was curious and had never seen a paddleboard before in its life? Number 1. Shark versus inflatable boat. When you think of an inflatable boat in the ocean, you probably imagine the boat afloat at the surface, yes? Well, a time this is not the case would be when a shark takes a bite out of it. And this is exactly what happened in this next video. This shark attack took place right off the coast of Mossel Bay in South Africa. The people on board the boat were actually on a tour of the area and sightseeing when they were approached by a magnificent great white shark. They were shocked to be so up close and personal with the animal. After observing the animal for a bit, they decided it was best to get going before the shark created too much damage, so they started the motor on the boat. It's possible the shark was not attacking and was just curious about what the boat was, because it's not like boats are enjoyable to eat. What do you think? If you enjoyed today's video, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Have you come across any scary shark encounters that didn't make this list? Share them in the comments and be sure to check out these videos on the screen. Thanks for watching!